Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian and you're watching Game Brigade. And today we're taking a look at Evolution New World by Right Games RPG and in conjunction with Crow D Games right now on Kickstarter. We're going to go ahead and cover the game mechanics in terms of how this game is set up and played, and then give you my final thoughts on the game's mechanics, maybe some of the things I liked and didn't like, so you can make a choice backing this game. All right, welcome back. We are going to be taking a look at Evolution New World as I talked about. This is a prototype copy that I have in front of me, and some the components in this stage are mostly prototype, but there could be similarities or differences as the campaign progresses through stretch goals or design changes and whatnot. So I'll be giving you my impressions of this game based on the prototype version that I have played and the rule set that I had available to me that was sent. So in this game of Evolution, we are going to be playing nature effectively, where we're going to be placing down animals, adapting them to different environments and predators that are in play, as we try to be the best in terms of having our points be, have the most points by the end of 6 epochs. So here in front of me, I have the base game set up. We have several different areas up here, and you can see that there are different types of food. And there's also this green icon, which references shelter. And from this deck, we have the different epochs. And when this deck would run out is when the game will end. Down here is the main player area. This would be for each player. And I currently have it set up as I have 2 creatures and some of their traits with them. I set these up just kind of randomly to show you the examples of what those are, and then I would have my player hand as well as the draw card deck. So that is pretty much it in terms of how this game is set up. Players will be placing their turns by playing a card face down to create a new creature, and then they could play a card from their hand underneath that card to give it a trait. What is interesting about this game is that traits are things that the creatures are now running, and so you are trying to create your creatures to be resilient to the environment as well as resilient to predators that are in the game. So to create a predator, I've got this card right now that's partnership, but it also, you can see it's double-sided. Double-sided cards can be played either for their top or their bottom stat. So if I wanted to make a creature a carnivore, I would play it as a carnivorous creature. And now it has a +1 symbol up there, referencing that it will need an additional food when it attacks. So now I have a carnivore creature. Now, just for clarity, I showed how I picked up that card from the middle that was pairing these 2 cards. You would have to play it from your hand, not from like that. I'm just trying to show you, for example, what a carnivore would look like. A carnivore creature now can attack another creature to gain its food. So that is one way that creatures are going to be trying to protect themselves. And every card will have a reminder text on it, but there's also a helpful little solution guide here that explains all of the different types of abilities in the game for both primary traits and secondary traits. For a carnivore to attack a prey, a carnivore must have matching symbols or have things to break these things. So as like an evolution deterrent or pack hunting, for example. So this is the game. Then once we get to the next portion of the phases, after animals are played, we're going to have to eat. And so up here we have the regions, and these regions have red cubes currently on them, which indicate food, and then we have the green things, which indicate shelter. So going around in player order, players will take a cube and place it on their animal, showing that it is fed. Again, if it has a +1 or more +1s, this creature would have to have more food on it to survive. The idea of this is that as players play out more creatures, there's going to be less food available for it. And as creatures play more herbivores or prey, there's going to be less options up here for eating, but it also makes a better opportunity for carnivores to go ahead and attack a creature and knock them out of the game. If a predator does attack a creature and knocks them out, they would replace them with these blue cubes instead, showing that they've been fed from an animal. So that's the basis. We have the green cubes up here, which you could take instead of food and place on that creature, which stands for shelter. A creature that is in shelter is not able to be attacked by a carnivore. So this will keep going back and forth. You're going to see a lot of players losing their creatures. If you don't have anyone to eat, if you're a carnivore and there's no food up here, you might even have to attack your own creatures, which is an interesting little take on that. And there's additional things like these yellow cubes stand for fat. So if you want to have a creature that may has fat stores, if there's limited food available, you can rely on fat stores to supply them through the extinction phase. And then once we've all finished that phase, we will draw a new epoch and discard the bottom one. And this will continue until all 6 epochs have been played. So this is the basis of the game, but we're going to talk about the things that I liked or didn't like about this game, and maybe some of the changes that I would see if I were making any changes going forward, or some of the things I'd like to see. So first off, Evolution New World was very thematic for me, a lot of fun to play. I really enjoyed the idea of playing this game and feeling like I was creating a new species. So let's take it from as if I had a base hand of opening cards. So for an opening hand, you would start with 6 cards. So from there, you would have to play a card face down, indicating that it is your first creature. And then from there, players kind of look around the board, see what people are doing. Is there any predators coming out? If there are, what kind of traits do they have? So we would say put nocturnal on our creature. And let's say then we're going to go transparent. And so now I might feel like this guy is safe. So I can either pass and keep the cards in my hand, or I can potentially start a new creature. It is rewarding players to be able to start new creatures because it reflects or impacts how many cards we draw at the end of each turn. So for example, if I had these 2 creatures that I had hoofed and tail loss on this one, and this one's transparent and nocturnal, starting with the next round, you draw cards equal to the amount of creatures you have plus 2. So in this case, I would draw 4 cards. So with these 4 cards, I could either then make more creatures or protect these ones more, because endgame scoring will determine how many creatures I have plus how many traits they acquire. So from there, we also then have to look up top and see what kind of territories they are. Right now, we have glaciers and savanna, which means if you're going to eat at the glaciers, if you want to take this food that's, say, up top, you have to have no traits, which means that only a creature that has no traits could eat there. Or the tundra could be taken down here. So what's interesting about that is the idea of the epochs up here or the regions are supposed to create some sort of scarcity that you have to kind of plan if you want to eat that food. Say, for example, savannas requires high body weight. So I would have to check, turns out I do have a high body weight. So I can put that on here, and now I can be the only person that can enjoy savannas. But high body weight also increases my food requirement by 1. So I would have to take an additional food to complete that. The idea, though, is once players start doing what I'm doing here and I'm creating a lot of different animals, it creates an opportunity for predators to come in and take advantage. As long as they have some sort of similar system here, they can attack and wipe out my creature completely. So if they did have a way to kill this creature, I would lose entirely this whole creature and they would have to be discarded. So that is one impact of the game that I want to make sure people truly understand, is there are going to be a lot of swings in this game where a player might feel like they're in the lead having 3 or 4 animals, and then they lose everything and they're down to now only 1 animal. And then when they come to the next round, instead of drawing a lot of cards, they would only draw 3 cards. So this was brought up in our play sessions multiple times in terms of the catch-up mechanics, or is there any feel-bad moments? I personally, in the games that we played with this one, never felt like anyone was knocked out of the game, although you did feel like you were when it happened to you. So if I got knocked out like this, now I'm at one creature, other animals would start to affect each other or figure out ways to deal with them. So it's an interesting mechanic. Half my group was very much unhappy with the way the card draw mechanic worked, because now I'm knocked out and I only drew, in this example, 3 cards to try to recover. While if someone had 3 creatures that were stacked in some way, they're drawing 5 cards, which can potentially keep them stronger. It's the idea of the rich get richer kind of mechanics. But in our gameplays, we noticed that people would kind of start to attack who they felt was the greatest threat. It would ignore the people who were kind of weakened at that point. But again, that could also be a player group experience, and I can't change the player group that I have, so I don't know what you might experience in your gameplay sessions. I just know that half my group enjoyed the mechanic and half my group did not enjoy the mechanic in terms of the recovery from being attacked by carnivores. And that kind of goes into how potentially easy it is for a carnivore to affect and attack other animals. It is very punishing when you lose, when you have invested so many turns or so many cards into a single animal, to have a single attack completely wipe it out. And you would indicate it by doing this. And say this animal could now take out another animal if it has matching traits. But there are a good amount of cards, such as pack hunting, which I don't have any in my hand right now, which can neutralize a defensive tactic. And there are defensive traits that you could put on people to reduce their technical strategies that they're doing. So there are ways that you might think you have a completely safe animal and then just lose it right away. We also saw people throwing away their predators to neutralize the target where they thought someone may thought they were safe. They might have a poisoned animal, so if a predator did attack it, their predator would also die. But at times people felt like it was needed to do to take someone out or reduce their potential scoring. So it did. With all that said, it did feel kind of what I think a real environment of natural, strong survival of the fittest would feel like. I felt completely like this was very thematic in the sense of how it played. So take what I'm saying with an understanding that, to me, I really enjoyed that aspect. So there are things, though, that I wish were a little different in terms of how they played, and they mostly revolved up here around the area sections where they have different types of foods. We felt like that the food was fairly easy to acquire. There was never any moments where we didn't feel like everyone could get fed, and so my strategy almost always was to try to just make sure I targeted whatever types of shelter there were to protect my animals, because this is pure protection. And then I never felt like there was opportunities for me not to get my food. There should be more scarcity up here. Also, I feel like the environments weren't interesting enough, because there's enough neutral environments, to make it feel like I had to evolve my creatures to maybe take advantage of the environments. So, for example, this one is savanna. Do I want to evolve my creatures, and do I want to focus on high body weight so I can secure those food? I didn't feel like I ever had a need to do that, because there was so much available food for us that there was never a real need to do that. So I would have loved to have seen this up here adjusted a little bit to make it a little bit more needed or noticeable. There is a good amount of environments, but for the most part, there are a lot of neutrals, or the top section of it wasn't as detrimental or needed as I would have liked. Overall, the gameplay is very quick and peppy. I would say that the playtime of about 45 minutes to an hour is fairly accurate, and I enjoyed every game we've played of this one. I would probably rate this. I don't like rating prototypes, and I really shouldn't be giving a rating, but if I were to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 3 3.5 out of 5. Overall, I think it's a good game. I think it's a great educational experience, or someone who is interested in this environment. I do think there are things I think it could make it a little better in terms of the regions up here, or maybe having the carnivore interaction with the prey be a little bit more interesting than just I kill your entire animal. So that is pretty much Evolution New World in a nutshell. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys if you're thinking about backing this game or picking it up on the Kickstarter. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let me know in the comment section down below if this was helpful to you, or if it was not. I'd like to know in case I need to make any changes to my review style. So this is Brian from Game Brigade. I hope this helped. I will talk to you all very soon.